Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am Nicole BC, and you know everything. Oh man, there's a bug. We've got stink beetles here. That's what I'm told they're called. That could be what you just tell the carpetbaggers when you live in the Appalachians. But they are fucking everywhere and they fly around and they sound like little helicopters and they just like smack into shit, especially at night when there's lights on. Anywho, I was trying to play the thumbnail game and get a really solid like thumbnail, but instead a bug flew around. So anyway, hi, welcome. Welcome to You Know Everything. Thanks for being here. This one's gonna be a little all over the place. That's probably not the best way to intro. You're like, why the fuck would I stick around for something that's going to be all over the place? Well, welcome to me. But realize I don't have a podcast for next week. So we got to get this one done. And also, I have like 6 podcasts I'm researching that are all part of this bigger project. So I'm actually really excited because I say that every time, but truly, I am really excited. This is one of my favorite topics. This is the thing I've been talking about for 25 years. This is quite literally the Kool-Aid I know I've been drinking, but the reason I wake up every single day. And it's this concept of business. Like when I ask myself, why the fuck do I keep doing this to myself? And when I work with the people who I get the privilege of working with and supporting, whether in any place that I get to work with everybody, it's such an honor to be so inspired by these visionary leaders. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it is more important now than ever. Like we need to remember why we're all doing the dang thing. And I will say there's a few common things with everybody that I get to work with. And I think I tease that out in every single episode, but this one in particular is going to be all about community. And I was talking with the DAO builder that I used to be the CEO of, City Roots DAO. And we were discussing where technology is going, AI, business, creativity, philanthropy, decentralized autonomous organizing, let alone organizations, like how this is all evolving. And I mean, he was saying every 2 weeks in AI, there are these mind-bending, absolutely evolutionary, revolutionary inceptions that are occurring. And it's incredible. I mean, we can build entire organizations now in a matter of hours and leverage AI to do that and really automate so many of the things that people hire me to help them figure out, right? And that's amazing. The reason we're all doing this is because we had a vision. We knew things could be better or just different enough to make an actual difference. You wanted to do it your way. You wanted to take your ideas seriously, my definition of business, right? You knew you had something to offer, and whatever place or space you had found yourself in wasn't giving you the sandbox to play in, right? So you wanted to build. And I've said this many a time, like you wanted to be the king or queen or somewhere in between of your own castle. But like my people ain't just building a castle, right? They're trying to build a kingdom and they want to give their people the keys. They want this little corner of the universe for us, for our community to call home, a safe place where people are truly empowered to grow and change and create. That to me is what business can really offer. And when I was talking with my friend Joe about DAOs and about AI and about the future of business, he said, it's going to be empathic community. And I think like that really resonated with me because this is somebody who has spent their entire career building enterprise IT solutions, right? So working with some of the biggest corporations out there to build these networked systems. And the fact that even he is talking about it in terms of empathy and empath and sensing and sensory connections, he's coming at it from a technological standpoint, but like all I hear is connection, community, creativity, like let's fucking go, right? So my question that I hope we'll explore a few different answers to, as we typically do in these episodes, but like riddle me this. Why are you starving for connection in a palace full of productivity. Like if we're truly creating these spaces of empowerment, that we all still feel so lonely. And between endless Slack notifications and numerous Zoom meetings, I mean, theoretically, we're connecting right here, right now on a screen. You're probably also working. You're probably juggling 15 different things. You might even be one of the lucky few that have like a family and other community or environmental commitments. Like there's so much connection literally happening. Like, why do we figuratively feel like we are so isolated and alone? Are we performing connection? Is this like productivity theater where we're quietly falling apart behind the curtain while outperforming everybody else? Like it's this really interesting conundrum. And quite frankly, as the leader, and I'm pointing for those of you watching at you get to change that, right? Like you are the sovereign of this kingdom. You set the vibes, you connect through value. And this is where the village comes together. And I've talked in a million different episodes about how values can inform your decision making, your points of connection. They can act as a filter for community and for your people. So I'm going to do my best to not talk about that in this episode, but I will absolutely link to those episodes if you want to kind of figure out like where I'm coming from, or if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining. Sorry in advance. But this isn't about like kumbaya community, which I also experience as being very performative. And y'all know, like I've been kind of workshopping this community, this very little tiny community here in the hills. And my initial ideas were literally washed away. So I am reformulating that and working with the people and really trying again to bring in this conversation whilst also recognizing, and this is what we are really going to get into, like we're all different. We all come from different places. We all have different reasons for being here. We probably even have different goals, because that's my concept of community is like, I want individualism and autonomy and agency, right? Like I want people to think for themselves and do what they need to do in order to feel successful. But I want to create this sandbox where we all get to play and figure out what that actually looks like. Because we've never, well, at least I've never really been able to experience that. I don't want to speak for other people. So somewhere in between the email overlord, the hustle porn, like the Slack messages, the endless notifications, the checking your phone at all hours of the night, like we stopped showing up for each other and we started just showing off. So let's figure out what happened. And I know I keep talking about this. Okay. And it really did change everything for me, which is why it's been such a pivotal conversational point for me. But I saw community in real time. And I've been through a few different disasters and in a few different places. And never before have I had that many people knocking on my actual front door, asking me if I'm okay, bringing supplies. I then returned that favor where and when I could. And I still continue to drive around with a ton of shit in my car to be able to just give people if I see someone in need. I'm offering homes to people, figuring out what that looks like, knowing that there's no monetary exchange that can occur, but there's certainly a lot of ways that we can create exchange when we communicate and connect with each other. But like when businesses couldn't get in touch with their employees, when we didn't know who was safe, who was alive, who had what in terms of resources, we physically acted out ways of connecting and supporting with each other. And it was the businesses that became the hubs for the distribution of love, of resources, of information. That really caught my attention. Like it was one thing for my neighbors to be checking on me, which in theory we all recognize and wish and want to do. But then like, when's the last time you knocked on your neighbor's door, right? So it was different when, as a business owner, I realized, and I'd been through this with the pandemic, and I've been through this when other, like I said, disasters and tragedies have occurred, but never at this scale and never in a place where I felt so new and therefore disconnected. It really resonated with me. It shook me to my core, right? And, you know, like at the yoga studio that I'm now partnering with, one of the teachers was was buried alive in a landslide. And she survived. Others didn't. But no one, had the owner not immediately reached out to everybody, had we realized we can't get a hold of this one person, had the people that live near there not mobilized, we don't know if she would have survived. And that's what I mean when I talk about the power of business as this place of connection, but also and primarily this foundation of safety and security for everybody that works there. So I have in my notes here, you don't go knocking on your neighbor's door and asking, do you have an MBA? You don't find these points of connection on LinkedIn. And when asking a coworker or a boss or you as a leader checking in with your people to say, are you safe? Do you need help? This is connection. This is the work, right? Like this is the actual power of business, is to truly show up for each other and create something. That point of connection, again, is the foundation for safety and security. So this is a really powerful place to play. And I get to say that to the people that I work directly with. And I'm saying this now to you as a leader, as an employer, as a boss, as somebody with a vision who has the opportunity to create this space. It is sacred work. You have the opportunity, again, to create the world you want to be a part of, where people can actually show up and feel taken care of. And that gets to go both ways. And it's just different than the way I think we've all experienced work and employment over the last 30 years. I think this existed in a fairy tale version of our past, right? Like, but why was there so much pride in small business 100 years ago? And it's, I think, because of these points of connection. It was truly like the first opportunity we had to be in community with people that weren't just in our physical proximity. And people took a lot of pride in that. And at one point, there was this sense of loyalty and retribution, in the sense that you would give yourself to this concept of organization and business, and in return, it would take care of you if you got sick, when you got old, et cetera. And I get it. I know that is probably more fantasy than and fiction than truth, but like, what if we could actually create that reality moving forward? Okay. Thank you for joining me for my TED Talk. Remember when I was like, this will be a quick and dirty one. I am all over the shop though. Overly caffeinated. It's my last vice. Thank you. So we're going to talk about how loneliness is a productivity killer. And I know that is like, we all get it. We're all fucking lonely. How did that happen? Blah, blah, blah. But like, there's a way it's impacting your work and your ability to connect and build community that I'm not sure I've heard talked about through the lens that I see business. So we're going to talk about not just values, but why a shared mission and this royal sense of purpose are going to be the keys to your kingdom and allow you to gather this sense of community that is truly, truly yours. Okay. And something that feels not just royal, but loyal. And not in the sense of like attachment or obligation, but shared connection. And so, as per usual, I'm going to give you 3 different strategies you can play with. Never for me to tell you what to do. You are the king or queen, madame, potentially emperor, empress, whichever way you want to look at whatever archetypes, hierophant, magician, you do you. But a couple of different tactics you can try in your day-to-day to figure it out. So, okay, really quickly though, let's just talk about like what's happening behind the Zoom backgrounds. And we know 60% of Americans are reporting feeling lonely on a regular basis. And I also heard 1 out of 4 Americans under the age of 38 don't even feel like they have a best friend that they can confide in. And this is according to Cigna's US Loneliness Index. Gen Z and millennials are the most connected, air quotes, generation digitally, but also the most isolated emotionally. And leaders are feeling it. The Harvard Business Review found that half of CEOs feel isolated and lonely, and 61% say it affects their performance. And that is quite honestly why I started business coaching, is I know how isolating it can be to be a founder, to be a visionary, to be a CEO, to be a leader. Some of us are a team of 1, some of us are a team of hundreds. And we've never felt more alone. It's sad but I'm here because it's risky. Like it is impacting your ability to be successful. And this is a study from Brigham Young, but a meta-analysis found that, but done by Brigham Young, found that loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. What? That's insane when we look at stats like that. And at me if you want the actual source for that. So we've been building businesses like IKEA furniture, alone, frustrated, and convinced we're missing a few bits and pieces with directions that are barely legible. So it's time to redesign not just business, but this sense of community, because it is our job, I believe, to protect our people. And not just because that's profitable. I mean, that's the gross side of this, right? And actually, it's not. There's nothing wrong with being fucking profitable. I'm helping another organization here establish themselves as a nonprofit. And they were like, but we make a lot of money. Nonprofits can make a lot of money. There is nothing wrong with making a lot of money. It's what you do with that money. And that's the opportunity that you have as a leader and as a founder and as a visionary and as a business owner, is you can create the thing that you felt like you've been lacking or couldn't access or didn't have the ability to discover in your own space. Like, why did you want to do this in the first place? Or why are you fantasizing about starting your own thing? It's to create something you've never been able to experience, but you've so desperately wanted. And you get to do that for other people. That's fucking magic. Or you can do it all by yourself, but like the network within which you work will act like those connections. And that's sort of more of my perspective. Like I enjoy my independence and my individualism, shall we say, but I have this incredible network of people having been doing this now for 25 years. And so even though like I get to kind of play in my own sandbox by myself, which I really enjoy doing. No one to tell me that my castle looks weird. I still am able to build these incredible connections with people. And oof, I just hit the microphone. It allows me to tune into this feeling of one. I'm not going to get too hippy dippy on you. Okay, so shared mission, vision, and purpose. This is your compass as the builder, as the founder, as the royalty in your kingdom. People don't want to punch a clock. They want to punch fear in the face together. Sorry, I was having a little fun with words this morning. When you can align on mission, vision, purpose, you unlock this alignment that is autonomy and agency. Every person is empowered to make decisions, to do what they need to do the way they are able to do it best. We're going to talk about this in a future episode, how to create environments that foster success, how to create spaces where people can feel successful, even if they're failing, even when they're experimenting and making mistakes and learning and growing. They're aligned on this greater purpose. And that's what gives people the motivation to push and drive and dream, is they have this grander purpose, this raison d'etre, this belief that they're willing to kind of try anything to figure out. So you create a why that's bigger than a paycheck. It's like psychological oxygen. And I urge all of my clients to figure this out, because truly we're not doing this for the money, especially now. But really, it's whatever the money gives us access to, right? And so you have this opportunity to explore motivation and inspiration and therefore drive with each of your people. But that's what's going to allow, if you, assuming you're scaling to a certain space, which I'm not assuming that that's what you want to do. I'm just talking about this in terms of that perspective. How do you start managing larger and larger groups of people and leading, potentially hundreds, if not thousands of people? You're giving them the opportunity to gather also based on these shared visions, missions, and purposes. And for different groups of your kingdom, shall we say, different neighborhoods, they are going to have different motivations and different job roles and responsibilities and different skill sets and interests and whys. And that's what's fucking cool, is everybody can be satisfied and empowered. Daniel Pink calls it purpose-driven motivation, and it outperforms cash and rewards every time. So by asking, what are we building and who are we saving? You can start to really tune into these differences, right? So this is about exploring equality, yet not making the assumption that we are all equal. This is actually investing in individualism. We all deserve respect, but we don't all need the same thing. We don't embody the same strengths or skills or motivations or interests. And the best communities, in my opinion, don't treat everyone identically. That's not what we mean by equality. We treat everybody intelligently. Like, you can figure this out for your own reasons. You understand why we're all doing this. What do you think? And I'll tell you what, as an employer, as someone who's worked with employers who employ hundreds, if not thousands of people, I haven't done an account. I'm not really that interested in doing it. But asking your employees, we probably need a better word for that. I'll work on that. But asking the people who you work with what they think when they perceive you as being in a leadership position is staggering. Like, they'll go through all of the energetic levels, right? Like, oh my God, what if I say the wrong thing? What if they judge me? I'm going through this with this little community as well. It's like, okay, well, if you can't pay, what can we do? What can I do to support you? What can you do to support this home and this space? And they're like shaking when we have these conversations because there's so much programming and existing trauma, for lack of a better word, around these types of questions, asking people what they think, giving people the space to create without there being a wrong answer or a punishment on the other side of this. This is not a pop quiz I'm trying to fail you on, right? Like, we've really not given people a consistent, safe place to have these conversations. And you have this opportunity, if you so choose, to do that. And it's not going to happen immediately. We're all of equal value, but we don't come from the same place. We don't have the same skills. We don't even have the same interests. So things that I'm really good at, that, like, I was joking around in the recent disasters, like, without electricity, AKA internet, I'm not very useful. But with those things, I can build anything, and like, I do have this innate ability for leadership, which some people don't. They really just want to do their thing that they're really good at. That doesn't involve actually relying on others or pulling out the best in others or having these hard fucking conversations with people to create an opportunity for everybody to win or nobody plays, right? And so for someone who is like really good, like just literally physically building, they have tools, they have materials, they can think three-dimensionally. My brain really struggles with that. If you've ever been in the car with me, The point being, like, we can work phenomenally together when we understand this is where I excel, this is where you excel. It's not going to look the same. In this economic model that I'm obsessed with, it recognizes that, like, we have determined jobs. This is a whole nother conversation that I'm not going to get into, but like, certain jobs have been perceived as being higher worth. Let's just talk about a doctor versus like an elementary school teacher or primary school teacher, right? We pay doctors about 10 times what we would pay a primary school teacher. Why? I don't fucking know. I didn't make the rules. But what I do know is there wouldn't be any doctors without elementary school teachers. So why did one become worth more than the other? Doesn't matter. Sure, there is an investment that needs to occur in terms of time and education and experience. That could potentially be part of the reason. There's different levels of responsibility. Again, I'm not here to argue which one is more or less or better or worse or right or wrong. I don't even believe in those binaries. But there are certain jobs that are going to be more desirable. There are certain jobs that are going to take higher investments. There are certain jobs that actually are going to take a fuckload more work. And we can create value assignments to those jobs. And we, you, me, the people in our kingdom, we can make those decisions. This is where, like, a decentralized autonomous organization using smart contracts to vote for things, like, that can really empower these redistributions of value and responsibilities and expectations, right? But these are the things we're literally creating right now. And that's where this becomes this ongoing experiment and conversation and creative process. 2022 McKinsey report found that personalized leadership increases engagement by 70%. So this whole concept of quiet quitting, this whole thing where people are just showing up to Zoom meetings with their cameras off on mute, like, obviously that's costing organizations not just money, but time, faith, this concept of engagement. Like, you know what it's like when you show up and you fucking get it done, right? Like, you're in it, you're engaged, you're excited about the work, you want to succeed. It takes you a fraction of the time and effort than it does when you're forcing yourself to do it. That's what I'm talking about. Like, what if we could create a place where everybody works when they're fucking into it? And when they're not, like, there's space to go do whatever else it is they need to do. So it's like leading as if you're the jazz conductor in an ensemble, as opposed to like a drill sergeant in, what is that? Oh my God. Play this one through, BZ. When you like show up in the army for the first like 2 months or whatever, boot camp. Be the conductor in the jazz ensemble, not the drill sergeant at boot camp. So you'll have heard me say this a million times because this is like level 6 leadership. Everybody wins or nobody plays. Success is not a zero-sum game. When your team wins with you, not for you, you stop creating followers and you start working with co-creators. Collaboration trumps competition. And yes, it's fun to have that drive and to have that playfulness, and that's for you. I am not a competitive person. That stresses me the fuck out. I'm the one that you put with like the slowest, saddest person on the team to just like walk with them, because I don't give a shit if I win. I want us to all have a good time. That's my definition of winning. Trust becomes your most valuable currency. And I think trust is going to like greater than loyalty, right? Because loyalty comes with this loaded sort of interpretation of like obligation and expectation. It's like attachment, right? That like stickiness. But trust is where we elevate that concept and go like, I'm here because I believe in what we are trying to do. I'm not here because you're scaring me or forcing me or threatening me or for a paycheck. Gallup shows that companies with high employee engagement are 21% more profitable. And this is where we're kind of losing the plot here. And I'm not going to get into politics, but there's a reason why diversity and equity and inclusion and accessibility were part of every corporate's vision statement for the last 20 years. It's because it's more profitable. Are those the right reasons? Again, I'm not getting into that discussion. There is so much value in this connection of difference to create something together. And we're not just building fucking pipelines. We're building people. It's like the bricklayer versus the church builder, right? Like I don't even want to say giving, co-creating purpose lights people up. And it creates, in my experience, this sense of play, as opposed to just having this dogmatic, systemized, hierarchical, top-down, forced-fed structure and like factory line of productivity. So depending on where you're at right now, you might be asking like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do about this, BC? Like, I have a vision, I haven't started it yet, or I've taken all of this old corporate culture into my existing business. And I realize like I am the control freak boss, white knuckling productivity. And I want to see my people on Slack before me and on Slack after me. And I want everybody's cameras on without a fucking background on Zoom because I want to know what their home office looks like. Or I am demanding that people come back into the office because I just don't believe everybody's working hard enough. Right? And I don't think that's you. I'm just like making a very dramatic point. You're here for a reason, and it's a shared vision, mission, purpose, but I digress. Host like a mission critical meeting. Get one question out, and it's, why are we here? And if your people can't honestly answer you, that, my friend, is your first mission. To create a place where people just actually feel like they can be honest and it's not going to be held against them. And you'll know if it's you because when they tell you, like, I'm here because I have to pay my bills, and you think, well, that's a lousy answer. That's your judgment, my friend, and they feel that. So you want to have a conversation about that? hello@NicoleBZ.com. Let's figure it out. So host the mission critical meeting. Ask, why are we really here? Then map out your castle. Ask your people what they need, not what they want, what they need to feel successful, and get it all out. For the most part, it's probably going to be more help. Like everybody I've talked to in the last 3 months is like, we need more team members. We need more resources. Okay. Put that up there. I know you can't afford it. You can't justify it. The numbers don't justify the means, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the fucking excuses are, excuses. It doesn't matter. Ask them what they need. Then celebrate these points of connection. That's huge that they just disclosed this information. The next project is going to be figuring out how we can measure this, right? And how we can actually map out the building and the creation of getting their needs met, whilst also aligning that with whatever the sort of organizational needs are, AKA your goals and your profitability, right? Like this is how we start to connect values and our favorite buzz term of the 90s, organizational culture, to our day-to-day activities and just even the way we think and talk about things, right? So celebrate these points of connection and then put them on the map, just like you would revenue targets or like, I don't know, whatever your particular measurements are in business to make sure that you're on track. So the future of business isn't like B2B or B2C. It is H2H. It is human to human. And I personally find that so inspiring and so exciting that all I'm really, really investing in is connection. What if instead of calling ourselves Chief Executive Officer, we were connectors in chief? Because your real legacy isn't fucking revenue, right? If you're the king or queen of this kingdom, it's reverence. It's where people are truly celebrating this space of connection and creativity and creation, right? So this isn't about just like clocking in and showing up and getting a job done. It's truly being able to participate in a place and a space that helps us feel alive. And that sense comes from our ability to connect, not just to our own selves, our own sensory inputs, our true physical, emotional, mental experiences of connection, but this opportunity to engage and exchange with those around us. So I'm curious, like, if you feel as if your workplace went through some kind of disaster, would your people knock on your door and ask not just if you're okay, but what they can do to help? That's the castle I want to be building, right? And that's what I've actually experienced just in the last few months. The amount of people who I'm not even asking for help. I'm simply telling them where I'm at in my day-to-day, and they're saying to me, "You've helped me so much. What can I give you?" And because I've bitched about that question a million different times, they've just said, here's what I can do right now for you. And it's like, holy shit, I wasn't even asking. So, and not to brag, that feels a little braggy, but I think I've defined business as what you want to take seriously. And I am adding now to that definition, connection. How can you seriously invest in your opportunities to connect with the people around you, co-creating this vision, mission, purpose with you? I think that's it. That's all I got. Okay. Where do we land? Are we even still recording? Ooh, 34 minutes. That feels perfect to me. Yeah, we're getting in, well, it's spring. It's not officially summer. I'm currently like looking at the camera, noticing I'm in my workout gear. You're welcome. Can't stop, won't stop. Love you. Thanks for being here.